Oh, there it goes. Modern technology. Isn't it amazing how they can make you look foolish at a moment's notice? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams, whose mic was nowhere near him. I'm just firing on all cylinders at the moment. All right. And let me just flash that up. And the real March Madness is becoming. We're going to get into all the playoff races and how it's getting more solidified for the New York Islanders. But look out for the New York Rangers right now. And the man who is the host of the Final Buzzer talked about the Rangers seeking home ice, Mr. John Volkowski.
We want home ice chance. Better be coming up from the Rangers fans tomorrow, especially if they get a lead against the Devils.
I mean, it's starting to look a little bit like there might be a little bit more than home ice advantage that's on the way. We'll see more into that, and we're gonna actually break that down for all of you right now.
You're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. It's a very outside chance. I didn't think that there was a chance the Rangers were catching the Devils. And the funny part is there's going to be a big theme about this, everybody, all throughout the show. Usually in this like dog days of the season, you get the team that plays hot and the teams that let the other teams back in. Those are going to go hand in hand. Pittsburgh. And so without further ado, unfortunately, we will not have Anthony LaRocco to start. Hopefully he can make it for the end of the show. Let's go right to the A block, where, as you guys know, it is powered by SeatGeek. You can't see it right now because it's covered up right there, but SeatGeek powering the A block, $20 off your first order, and just use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, all one word.
I actually used it for AEW tickets, which are next Wednesday. So next Wednesday's episode, I will actually not be on for April 5th.
Oh, wow. We might have to cancel because I'm going to be in South Carolina. So
yeah,
that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be something else. And of course, we're starting to get more of them now. So watch the Final Buzzer with John Volkowski. That's the man that's right over there. And also, you want to catch any of the 60-second game reviews whenever I get to do them on Instagram. And don't worry, Islander fans, we're not going to leave everybody out. If both teams are in the playoffs, we're going to be doing I'm going to be doing morning shows either the next day, or if John does the Final Buzzer, Ranger fans, you'll be able to see that one. So there's going to be a lot of hockey we're talking about. Philk, the Rangers moving into third place, or not moving into third place. They're still in third place. 98 points, 44, 20, and 10. 53, a plus 53 for the goal differential. That is the highest in the Metropolitan Division. It is the second highest in the Eastern Conference. Who's got the most, Philk?
It's actually the second highest in the NHL, and it's behind the Boston Bruins.
Correct. So, I mean, and fortunately, it's on the graphic for NHL, but, you know, Phil's got the audio people's back. The Rangers beat the Carolina Hurricanes since our last broadcast, beat the Florida Panthers, and then really took it to the Columbus Blue Jackets, although they let the Blue Jackets back in the game. 2 points out of second place. Devils right now have more wins, so that will help them. But 5 points back at first place tomorrow night. Ding, ding, Philk. The New York Rangers at the New Jersey Devils. Philk, I'm going to give it to you right now, and I'm just going to put you right on the spot. Tomorrow night, will the New York Rangers tie the Devils for second place?
I got to be the optimist and say yes. The Rangers are 8-1-1 in their last 10. Their one loss in regulation was to the division-leading Carolina Hurricanes. And that was a game that they could have won, and they could have been 9-0-1 in their last 10 games. I mean, I gotta go with Core here. Buying around, this ain't bar talk, but I'm buying around. Core is very hyped up as well. Speaking of which, if you don't already do so, check out Core's videos on his channel.
Yes.
He's got some good stuff. definitely check him out and support him as well. So we support all of our hockey YouTubers and content creators here. So figured I'd just give a little shout out to him. But yeah, I think they're doing it. I just think that this team is playing great hockey right now. I think the Devils are going to make it a really tough game because they're going to be pissed after the way the Islanders ended up beating them up. But that Devils team looks vulnerable. I think the Rangers can handle them even without Ryan Lindgren. I think they can deal with it. I do worry a little bit about how that speed can really affect someone like Ben Harper, who's not the greatest skater. But I will say this, the Rangers have a lineup that the Devils are going to have problems with. And you got to think about that as well from a Rangers perspective. So the Rangers definitely have got that top six going. They looked great last night against Columbus. Yeah, it's Columbus, but they've looked great overall in general, especially since Kane was put with Trocheck and Kreider. That line has been really good together. We're starting to see a little more from Patrick Kane, as I've talked about. I mentioned on Twitter that I think that the best has yet to come from Patrick Kane. I think he might be saving himself a little bit for playoff time. I think we might get a little sneak peek of Showtime tomorrow night. That's just me. I think
interesting.
This is going to be a game where he's going to want to make a statement. He's going to come out and it's going to be a big game. And this is part of why they got Patrick Kane. It's because they wanted that big game score, that big game winning experience, that pedigree. Kane brings that, and he brings that in spades. So I think we're going to see a little bit of that from Patrick Kane tomorrow night. I also like Mika Zibanejad against the Devils. Mika Zibanejad has been very good against the Devils since he's come to the Rangers. So, yeah, including a couple of hat tricks, I believe, against them.
Yeah, so, only the Flyers, I believe, hate seeing Mika Zibanejad more.
Yeah, that kind of goes without saying. Right? But the Devils definitely hate seeing Mika Zibanejad because he has done nothing but terrorize them over the last, I would say, 5-6 seasons. So, yeah, I think this is a great game. I think this is a statement game. This is big. This is drama. This is hockey. This is what the NHL wants. A game like this between two big divisional rivals that have a long storied history coming down the stretch with less than 10 games left until the playoffs. You couldn't script this any better. This is what they hoped for. Nobody thought the Devils would be here before the start of the season, but here they are. And you know what? Here's drama. Let's bring it on.
This is starting to get reminiscent of the 2015 season where the Rangers hovered around third place. And then in the very end, they shot up. Again, I've said this before, Phil. I'll say it again. I thought they were going to use this as like a second preseason, get everything set, go get the Devils in the first round, and then that's it. But as I've said, and I'm going to go over this again. It's that's
told you. I told you.
And again, for those on audio, it was Mika Zibanejad.
Sorry. All right. Core messed up the stat a little bit here. So
37 points in 38 games versus the Devils.
That's still a point per game, just about. That's still really good.
That's damn good. Damn good. But it's part of this is teams get hot. Other teams let them back in. The Devils, 4-4-2 in their last 10. The Hurricanes, 4-5-1 in their last 10. And now you have the Rangers 8-8-1. Suddenly now, people at the bar were saying to me, do you think they can win the division? Hell no. I don't think they can win the division. And then in that time, back in 2015, it was really more towards February it started. They jumped over the New York Islanders and then took
they had that big win against them at the Coliseum.
The Coliseum. And then another big win in the closing weeks. And then they jumped over the Washington Capitals, and that's all she wrote. The Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Stop me if you heard this, Phil. The Pittsburgh Penguins were losing games left and right inexplicably, and you're going, what the hell is going on with the Pittsburgh Penguins? By the way, what the hell is going on with the Pittsburgh Penguins? So, going back to this though, they're starting to fire on all cylinders. You're starting to see Igor Shesterkin, the last year's Igor Shesterkin, back. I want to bring up some numbers that is going to justify that in a moment. I'll have to look for it while you're talking. But this is starting to look like a team that is getting ready to go for the ultimate prize. And I kind of said this during the Patrick Kane acquisition video that we had a month ago. They doubled their Stanley Cups when they got him. Their Stanley Cup experience was Barclay Goodrow, then Vladimir Tarasenko, now Patrick Kane. Now you have 6 Stanley Cups when you had 2 in February. You got a calming influence in the room, and now he's starting to find his game. Like that shot he had last night, he just went in on that on that play. You said it in the final buzzer that Kreider drops it back, Trocheck passes it across. He just walks in and just goes, "Thank you." That's all he says in that moment. Just yeah, and that's what a snipe looks like. That's what stars do in the playoffs. And Patrick Kane has done it, and he's never been the biggest guy or the fastest guy, but he's a guy that could get it done. So I'm looking forward to seeing what tomorrow night's going to bring. The New Jersey Devils win. It's not the end of the road. You kind of know where they're going to be. But if the Rangers win, that changes a lot of things. Then you have a very big momentum going in the Rangers' way. And Phil, I'm going to let you talk because I'm going to bring up what the next couple games are for the Devils and the Rangers in Carolina. In a moment. Go ahead.
And yeah, that it's a huge momentum swing if the Rangers win because they stay on fire. All their lines are clicking right now. The kid line has been scoring again. Alexis Lafreniere in the previous game against Florida, he had himself a night. He had himself a really good night last night too, as I talked about on the final buzzer. He had 2 assists and his skating. I think that's the best I've ever seen him skate in a game. Like his feet were moving. He was pulling off moves that we hadn't seen from him since Rimouski. I mean, that cutback where he drew that penalty, that's Rimouski Lafreniere right there. That's World Juniors Lafreniere right there. That's what this team needs. Because if this team gets Rimouski Lafreniere in the playoffs on that third line, then yeah, that team is going to be just absolute. It's going to be an absolute nightmare for teams to contain. So yes, I agree with this. If they continue to turn the puck over, they will. There's going to be problems. Trouba and Miller have to be better, but I mean, the rest of the team was playing pretty well for the most part, aside from that little sputter, in the first period, and then maybe the early second. But yes, the Young Bucks line, as I like to call them, has to keep producing, and I think they will. I think Chytil's back. I think Chytil has found his confidence again, and he's scoring goals at the right time. And I like the fact that he scored a big garbage goal there because those are the goals that he normally doesn't score a ton of those. So for him to score something like that, that's something you want to see, especially come playoff time.
And it's amazing because you can look at some of the schedules, like Devils got, I know Boston remaining, but you got Carolina, who's got Detroit, then Montreal. Both of those are on the road. They go to, they host the Islanders, host Ottawa, at Nashville, at Buffalo, at Ottawa versus Detroit, and versus Florida, at Florida, finish it. Now, the thing about that is you can look at that and go, Phil, that's an easy schedule. They should mow right through those guys. A lot of these teams, like the Pittsburgh Penguins, I keep bringing it up, they keep losing to teams outside the playoffs. Look at the Florida Panthers last week. You need to rest your goalie for one day. The next thing you know, there's 6 in your net. That's not going to be conducive, and that's not what's going to help. And although I do believe Rod Brindamore is one of the best regular season coaches to finish, he's done it very well the last 2-3 seasons. But I mean, this is a team that they might be pressing a little bit, and I don't know about them. Now the Devils, they've never been on this path before, and we talk about experience. This is where Patrick Kane is helping. I hope the Devils are going to get that from Andre Palat, but right now it seems like their inexperience is showing, especially in the net. Akira Schmid, who is playing a lot, is now. I don't think he's with the team right now. I think they sent him down. And then you have, I've been over it before. What's going on with Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood? You're hoping Mackenzie Blackwood's going to catch fire? They got problems in net. and I don't think it's going to be coming undone soon.
Yeah, I don't trust their net minding at all. I really don't. I don't trust either of those goalies. They're both very much unproven in the playoffs. I know Vanacek has a little experience with the Capitals, but not a lot. And I wouldn't trust Blackwood. My life depended on it right now in the playoffs. So New Jersey is definitely at a disadvantage. And also, their defensive unit is not great. It's really not great. They're going to get tested in the playoffs playing against better forward units on a nightly basis, teams that can make, they can adapt. The Devils will probably be a really good team in a few years, but it's just not their time right now.
Yeah. Although one thing to worry about is a guy that really has found his gear is Jack Hughes. He doesent get injured. He's a Hart Trophy candidate, and he might be a 50 goal scorer. Think about that one for a second.
Yeah.
So that's just unbelievable. So everybody, make sure first you're leaving a like and also comment what you think about the Rangers right now. And we're going to actually take a word from DraftKings and then go check in on the New York Islanders, who had a couple big wins themselves. And hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Phil, I guess I just accidentally hit the wrong button so I could use this brand new graphic that we have, everybody. There you go. It just says Marc messed up. So fortunately, mistakes will always happen. Checking in across with the New York Islanders, Phil, right now firmly in fourth place. They got a 3-point lead over the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm going to correct one number on there because it's 85 points, not 82. They're plus 18 goal differential. Again, that's going in the right direction. The big news for the New York Islanders, Phil, is they're holding on to wild card one. They had a win over the Devils after a overtime loss to Columbus, which they did have a 2-goal comeback in the third period, and a loss to Buffalo, where the less said about that, the better. But the bigger story that comes out of it is Florida loses to the Senators and Pittsburgh loses last night to Detroit. The Islanders expand their lead to 3 points over the Penguins, 6 points over the Panthers. And I got to bring up this point first, that if you look at All Things Islanders, one of our partner pages, All Things Islanders posted about the importance of Kyle Palmieri and Adam Pelech. They are 15-6-4 since January 27th, tied for 9th best in the NHL in that time. Phil, because of this week and that win over the Devils, how close are the Islanders to sealing this up?
Pretty close. They're not completely in there yet. I mean, they're only 3 points ahead of Pittsburgh, as mentioned. And then they're 6 ahead of Florida. I mean, I can't imagine Florida catching the Islanders just because of that type of lead. And I mean, Florida does have a game in hand on them. But even if they have the game in hand and they win the game in hand, then it's 81 points. Then it's 4 points, and there's 7 games left. So the Islanders would really have to go on a little bit of a tailspin for them to for Florida to get them. Pittsburgh, it's more than possible. But the Islanders, in their remaining games, they have the Capitals tonight on TNT. They have the Lightning on Saturday, the Hurricanes on Sunday, then the Lightning on the 6th, the Flyers on the 8th, and then the Capitals on the 10th. And they close out against the Canadiens on the 12th. Okay. So their schedule is not an easy one. It's definitely not. The Capitals are going to play them hard. The Lightning are fighting for home ice. So, they're going to come out flying. Carolina's fighting to save their division. You got the Lightning again fighting for home ice. Flyers who just don't care. They're just going out there and they can play spoiler. They don't have to worry about anything. Just making sure that their head coach doesn't yell at them a ton and bag skate them. So I guess that's a good reason to show up and play. And then the Capitals, again, another team that's out of it, but they can play spoiler and they have some talent. So, that's not a guaranteed win. The only team that you're going to look at and say, hey, you know what? There's two teams, I guess, the Flyers and the Canadiens. But the Canadiens aren't even much of a guarantee anymore either because they played much better over the last couple of months or so. So I can't sit there and tell you that the Islanders have this wrapped up. But, and that schedule is not exactly easy. So you got 4 games coming up or 3 games coming up against 2 of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. Those are going to be 3 really, really important games.
Well, one thing that's a positive, and we wish we had Anthony here to break all this down, but one thing that's definitely positive, Phil, there's only 1 pair of back-to-backs in those games. So Ilya Sorokin, you're getting the net.
Yeah, and I mean, they're on the road for 1, 2, 3. They're on the road for 4 of those 7 games. So
yes.
It's a fairly even split.
And I do have to say, when you're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are 5-5 in their last 10, how are they going to treat that game? You were saying they're fighting for home ice. That is true, but they are also 5 points behind the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And Toronto's 2 games in hand, yes.
Toronto's got 2 games in hand. We're going to talk more about the Tampa Bay Lightning in a moment. But so we have that. Now, 6 points up on the Florida Panthers. I don't think the Florida Panthers are catching them. Florida Panthers had their shot, and all their momentum is zapped, and it's gone. I don't know if they can get it back, no matter how good Matthew Tkachuk plays, and he's been playing phenomenal. But you look at Tampa, maybe you don't get Tampa's best shot one of those games, and maybe you get an upset against Carolina, or at least scare them enough where you say, hey, we'll see you guys in the first round. This is going to be an interesting week for the New York Islanders. I think they need 4 wins that wraps it up. 4 wins puts them at 93 points, and I think that does it. The Pittsburgh Penguins would have to go 6-1 in their last. Wait, I got the numbers.
Yeah,
wrong.
So Pittsburgh has 8 games left. They can earn a max of 16 points, which would get them to 98.
98. They're not going unbeaten. Let's just go out on a limb and say that one.
Pittsburgh, and I'll pull up Pittsburgh's schedule for you just so you can take a look at that because that one's probably going to be interesting considering the way that they're playing. But
and Phil, by the way, if you could figure out the Pittsburgh Penguins right now, a team that can lose to the Detroit Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators, but then go to Colorado and beat the defending Stanley Cup champions who are on an absolute tear right now, you please help me figure that one out. Because I can't.
I don't know. They're such an inconsistent team. It's amazing. And you know what's funny is that the Bruins lost. The Bruins are 6-3-1. Sorry, in their last 10 games, and the one of those losses was actually last night to Nashville. They lost 2-1, and now Pittsburgh has Nashville tomorrow night at 7. They have the Bruins on Saturday at 3 p.m. on ABC. And then they have the Flyers, and the Flyers are always going to go out there and give them hell. The next day, they have the Flyers on a back-to-back. Those 3 games are all at home, but then they go on the 4th to face the Devils. They come back home for the Wild on April 6th. They have the Red Wings, who just spanked them on the 8th in Detroit. And then they have Chicago at home, and Chicago is funny because Chicago is a team that beat Boston recently.
Correct.
And then we have the Blue Jackets to close out the season on the 13th. So their schedule's up and down.
And Phil, you have to laugh about it because only one team, it ranked 25 to 32, has a winning record in their last 10 games. Guess what team that is?
What? Say that again. I'm sorry.
Only one team in the last 10 games, ranked 25 to 32 overall, has a winning record in the last 10 games. Guess who that is?
25 to 32. I want to take a look and see because I'm going to make a guess of that.
It's actually a lot more obvious than he thinks.
Arizona?
Philadelphia Flyers, 5-4-1 in their last 10. Arizona is just outside of that, unfortunately. Arizona was 4-3-3. So, which is good news for Arizona. They didn't get that hot. Oh, wait, sorry. Well, technically, you know what? Technically, Phil is right. 4-3-3, that's over 500. It's still over it. So 2 of them. So my mistake. We could put up the graphic again in a moment. But again, Phil, this is definitely a good thing.
I love the fact that we have that graphic.
Yeah, Marc messed up.
I love
trying to find Homer Simpson saying dough, but
which is perfect.
Yes. So that's where we got on that. Again, there's going to be another time. There's going to be another time, by the way, very soon. Anthony wants to tell the story about Hudson Fasching, who has gone from just NHL, just like I don't want to use the term also ran. I mean, what would you say for a guy that was just basically nothing, and now 7 goals, 8 assists, and he's playing a very inspiring story. You got to hear it. So we're gonna get more on that soon enough. But Philk and I have the NHL power rankings to go through for Big Apple Hockey. This will be our last one for the season.
More power.
You underestimate my power.
Phil, you know what's sad about that clip?
What?
I get to remember when Star Trek and Star Wars were good. So those were the days. Everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Power Rankings, where we're going to be naming our top 5 teams in the league, each one of us. Phil will be doing his 5 today, and I do have Anthony's ready when we're going to do some comparisons. Phil, I got to say, this might be the toughest top 5 we've had all season.
Yeah, and I mean, I try not to just go on overall record. I try to go right now as of this moment for mine. So that's my caveat with mine. So if anyone takes a look at mine and say, why does mine look weird? Why does folks look weird? Well, I mean, that's kind of why I'm not just going off of overall records. So I'll jump into mine. At number 5, I put the LA Kings, 7-1-2 in their last 10. They are playing some great hockey right now. They've pounded teams like the Islanders. They've played some real good hockey as of late. Kevin Fiala is about a point per game. Anze Kopitar is just playing great 2-way hockey. The offense isn't as it's been like maybe say 2018, where he scored 90 points and won the Selke, became the 5th player in NHL history to do that. But he's still playing great. They're getting good goaltending from unlikely sources. Yes, Phoenix Copley is winning them games somehow. I still don't understand that. But the addition of Vladislav Gavrikov on defense has just been massive for them. I just like the way that they're playing right now, even though I hate the Kings for 2014. Screw you, Dwight King. Screw you.
I agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah, but the LA Kings are playing real good hockey right now. So, yes, they're in my top 5. I have them at 5. At 4, I have the Edmonton Oilers. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're a big McDavid fan, blah, blah, blah. 8-1-1 in their last 10. 8-1-1. And Matthias Ekholm has made all of the difference with this team. Connor McDavid is on his way to scoring 150 points. And here's a little tidbit. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is actually 4 points away from 100. 4 points away.
That's unbelievable to think of.
Think of it. I never would have thought Ryan Nugent-Hopkins would be close to 100 points this season. That would make the Edmonton Oilers the first team with 3 100-point scorers since the 1995-96 Pittsburgh Penguins, who have had Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr, who we talked about, who combined for over 310 points exactly. Actually, it was 310 exactly. And then Ron Francis, who I believe had 120 points that year, or it was 119 or something like that. But they had 3 100-point scorers, and Peter Nedved, who scored 99 points for his career year in 96. So, this Edmonton Oilers team is a juggernaut. They're trying to break the NHL's power play percentage record for a single season, and they look like they're going to do it because this power play just scores at will. They're getting capable goaltending from Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner. Evander Kane, since he's come back, has been putting up the offensive numbers that they need. Zach Hyman's having a career year. They have good depth with guys like Ryan McLeod, Warren Fogle, and so on. And the defense is, like I said, it's much improved, but Matthias Ekholm may be the biggest trade deadline acquisition in terms of pure impact across the board because he's done everything for them defensively, and he's chipped in offensively as well. So,
hey, Phil, just to jump in real quick, Evander Kane scored his 300th career goal last night. And
Leon Draisaitl scored his 300th career goal, and Connor McDavid is 1 goal away from 300 in his career.
And also, continuing what you said, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, previous career high, 69 points. He is shattering that already. Like, he's going to get the triple digits. That's unbelievable. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Edmonton, for me, they're my number 4. I have 3 pretty good teams ahead of them right now, though. At number 3, I put the New York Rangers. 8-1-1 in their last 10. Plus 53 goal differential, second in the NHL behind Boston. They've absolutely smacked around teams. It looks like they're scoring about 5-6 goals a game as of recent. The top 6 is just dominant. The kid line is back. The defense is going to get better with Ryan Lindgren, and Nico Mikkola reminds me of Marek Malik, but better. And I say that because he's being asked to play well above his station, and he's doing a really good job of it. For a guy that played 16, maybe 17 minutes a night before this, he's actually playing well in that role, playing 20-plus minutes with Adam Fox. And he looks good moving the puck, too, which is unexpected. I never expected him to be able to move the puck as well as he's moved. And I've watched a lot of him in St. Louis. And that's why I was excited when they got him in that deal. So he's exceeded my expectations. Igor Shesterkin, do we really need to say more? He's back. He is back. If the Scorpion save from the other game didn't tell you that he was back, he's back. But he's back to posting what he was doing last year when he won the Vezina Trophy, when he was posting almost video game Hasek 97, 98-like numbers. This team is a wagon right now. Watch out. Number 2, I went with the Colorado Avalanche. And Colorado is the only team in their last 10 that has more wins than the Rangers. They are 9-1-0 in their last 10. They're back. And this is without Andre Burakovsky, without Nazem Kadri, but they're getting big-time goal production from Mikko Rantanen, who's looking to hit 50. Nathan McKinnon might even score 100 points despite missing a large chunk of games, which would be his first 100-point season in his career. Just think about it. If Nathan McKinnon didn't miss the amount of games that he's missed, you might have to put him in the Hart consideration. He's at 95 points right now. 95 in only 62 games. 62 games. You know what that reminds me of? Peter Forsberg in the late 90s. Oh, let me miss 20 games but still score 90-something points. Yeah, because Nathan McKinnon is that damn good. And they've got a good supporting cast. They've got the depth. Alexander Georgiev is putting up respectable numbers. Who would have thought? And now this team looks to be like they have just been saving it up, and now they're just getting hot at the right time. It's almost like the 2000 Yankees Let me just dog through. And then I'm just going to hit that switch, and we're just going to shoot straight up from there. And then number one, you know who it is. It's a layup. Yes, Core, there's your graphic, buddy. There's your layup graphic. But, yeah, it's the Boston Bruins. I mean, and I know that they've lost a few games recently, but they're still the best team in the league. They're still getting it done. Even without Taylor Hall, Tyler Bertuzzi is now starting to acclimate himself. And they're just a wagon. Linus Ullmark doesn't seem to be losing a step. Everything is just still firing on all cylinders with that team. David Pastrnak is 2 points away from his first 100-point season of his career. He's going to likely do it. He's already got 52 goals the first time in his career. The guy's an absolute stud. They have everything that you can ask for. So, number one, the Bruins. Mark, you take it away.
I got to say first, before we get off the Bruins, it's amazing because Anthony and I, during the summer, when we're filling in the dead time for some of those games,
this comment,
yep, 931 save percentage. That's right, Core. That's a good one. We're going to have the finger pointing graphic coming back. But just the Boston Bruins looked like they could have been in for a disaster season. Head coach getting his second shot at the league. A bunch of UFAs on this team. I believe they have 9, and a lot of money tied up in their defense. And instead, they're going for it, and they are getting contributions from everyone, and they're going to end up being the toughest out in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But that being said, I got one statistic I want to remind everybody. Linus Ullmark is tied in wins in the playoffs with Filk and me, and neither one of us play in the NHL. It's very hard to get 16 wins, especially when you were the goalie at the beginning of the day. Of opening day. I mean, I don't think there's really been a goaltender in memory that's done it. There's plenty of Ken Dryden's, Matt Murray's, Cam Ward's that have come out of nowhere, but for a goalie to start the season and really try to ramp it up and be a 60-game goaltender, there hasn't been many. But Filk, to win the cup, that is. This is all of us and our consensus. I'm going to go to mine in a second. Anthony, he had the Rangers at 4. He had the Golden Knights up there a little bit higher than I did. And he also had the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota Wild are playing great hockey right now. I mean, Phil, there's a lot of good names that are on there. I put the Rangers at 2 just because they are really hot. But I mean, he could easily have put the Colorado Avalanche second. 9-1 in their last 10, and they got shocked by Pittsburgh in that game. I watched that game on TNT. Great game, and I still can't believe it. Georgiev's been a steady influence. I mean, I thought he was going to fall off. His goals against still isn't great, but his save percentage is. So who cares about that? You could say goals against, you could say more of a team stat, but I had the Minnesota Wild because the Minnesota Wild, there are very few times where I'm going to just look past the division leader and not say that they're good. But you got a team like the only team that's really on cruise control in our top 5, I think in all of us, is the Boston Bruins. Boston Bruins are in cruise control. You get other teams that are in cruise control, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Tampa Bay Lightning. That kind of is what takes them out of this. I'm not saying they're not a top 10 team, everybody. I'm just saying that's what makes them not that top 5 because they're not playing as well. The Rangers could have easily done what Toronto's right now doing, go 5-5, and then, or actually Toronto's case, I think Tampa Bay was 5-5. Toronto was riveting television right here, 6-3-1. It's still not bad. They're gonna have to work Ryan O'Reilly back in the lineup, but I think this is a solid lineup, Phil. I think this is the toughest top 5 I think we've had to do.
Yeah, it was tough for me because I wanted to put Vegas in there. I'm not as high on Minnesota. I know a lot of people are going to point to Minnesota and play. Hey, Minnesota 7-1-2 in the last 10. Yeah, they're playing great. And they have the division lead right now, and I get that. But, I mean, that team just for some reason does not scare me. They don't.
And understandably so. The other way around kind of worked with the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, they're playing great in their last 10, but I looked at their schedule. They had a couple bad losses that recently happened. I mean, well, they lost to Vegas in overtime. I'm thinking about how they almost lost to San Jose last week.
Yeah.
That's really it. they're firing. And you got Connor McDavid, who's right now.
They just kicked the crap out of Vegas last night. They absolutely, and I tell you, I watched that game. They kicked the crap out of them. And Vegas, they got a lead on Vegas, and Vegas looked like they wanted to try to get back into it. And then Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl and McDavid literally just took them by the throat and said, "We're stomping you out," and that's it. And that's the game.
And it's amazing. It's and Vegas, by the way, a little bit sloppy, a lot of turnovers. But Nugent Hopkins, I mean, he's about to have his first 100-point season in what, year 12?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, everybody, the Rangers should get rid of Kakko and Lafreniere right now. So,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get there with a player.
Asks, how old are Crosby and Malkin? Crosby is 35 and Malkin is 36 or 37. So they're getting up there, bud.
Yeah, they're up there. And the difference is Sidney Crosby isn't showing the signs of age of Evgeny Malkin is.
Yes.
So that's something just to keep in mind on that one. Also, not only signs of age, sometimes Evgeny Malkin looks like he's just done in Pittsburgh. He just doesn't want to be there anymore. But that's also Evgeny Malkin.
That's something that's been rumored for a while, too. And it's funny because the Evgeny Malkin that is done, quote unquote, done in Pittsburgh still has 77 points in 74 games. So he's still just a tremendous player.
And you know what? I've been predicting they were going to trade Evgeny Malkin since 2015. And he's only won 2 Stanley Cups and played 1,000 games for them. So, all right, let's go do some bar talk, everybody.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. Well, everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you so confident that you're buying everybody around? So I'll have a beer. Oh, I'll take a shot, please. All right. Play along down in the comments below, everybody. And don't forget, try the service out. Why go to the liquor store when you can have Drizly bring it to you? Great for parties, great for any time. You just don't feel like going out to 7-Eleven or anything. So click the link in the description below and start an account. And again, Big Apple Hockey Trucker hats are coming back. I'll get more on that in a little bit. Phil, usually I like to do a lead in before I do any topics, but I can't really do one right here. The New York Rangers coach, Gerard Gallant, needs to become more consistent in his lineups.
I'm going to say beer, just because I feel like he's let the top 6 kind of stay, and the top 6 looks like it's firing on all cylinders right now. So I'll give that to him. It looks like for a bit he was trying to experiment to see what lineup worked, and now I think he's found it. I really do think he's found the working combinations with the top 6. The bottom 6, you shouldn't touch a thing. The kids, or the Young Bucks, as I like to call them, because I'm a huge AEW fan, a huge Young Bucks fan. Yes, the Young Bucks line need to stay together. And then the 4th line is one of the better 4th lines in hockey right now. So just keep those lines together. The defense will obviously go back to the normal pairings when Ryan Lindgren gets back and he's healthy. But Niko Mikkola has been pretty solid in his role.
I've been vocal that he needs to be more consistent. I've been talking about this for a while. He switched things up after the Florida game where their power play was doing good, and then suddenly everything got switched. You made a joke on your Twitter, Phil, about I would love to see this line from the Rangers. I said, wait 20 minutes. Turk will make it happen. And then 20 minutes, he'll change it back. But I'm going to go beer too. It's funny, Phil. I talk about consistency and the importance of consistency. I talk about how you need a nice, calm, steady hand on everything in the lineup. When the New York Rangers won the Stanley Cup, Mike Keenan was far from consistent and far from a steady hand. Mike Keenan, if he didn't like what he was seeing, he would just put Alexei Kovalev on the top line with Graves and Messier and let them run, which is what he did in game
6 against the Devils.
The famous guarantee game. And what happened? Kovalev a goal and 2 assists.
As soon as that line was put together, they started dominating the Devils. That was the move that turned that game around.
And by the way, in that game, Kovalev was in the 4-on-4 situation, not Graves, which that's a little bit of a shock when you sit down a 50 goal scorer for a young kid.
It's not a shock when you can see what he could do at 4-on-4. And Keenan pushed the right button there.
Yeah. And look, there's a lot of things I rip Mike Keenan about. That was where it's right.
Yeah.
If Gerard Gallant can challenge that, that's fine. I do think you need more consistency. I wish that's not the case, but that's what they got to do. All right. Philk, you look at the wild card teams right now. The New York Islanders, 85 points. Seattle Kraken, 88 points. And the Winnipeg Jets, 85. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, 82 points. The New York Islanders are the most dangerous wild card team in the playoffs.
Get the GIF out. Get the GIF out.
Yeah.
Yes. Get the GIF out. Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Why? Because they actually have goaltending, unlike the other 3 teams. I'm sorry. And you know what? No offense to Winnipeg, because Connor Hellebuck is a former Vezina winner, but that was fine. That was 2018 that he's won it. And he hasn't been the same goaltender since. He's been good, very good, but he hasn't been close to that Vezina caliber since. And then he's up there in name. Sorokin is the best goaltender by far of any of these teams. They play the toughest style of hockey to play against the playoffs. Pittsburgh is extremely inconsistent. Winnipeg is doing everything that they can to miss the playoffs, and because of the incompetence of the teams around them, they're still in a playoff spot. Good job, Calgary. All 3 of us picked you to make the Stanley Cup Finals, and you've done nothing but shoot yourself in the foot until recently. You guys trying to get Daryl Sutter fired? Because if so, great job. Keep up the good work. He'll be gone in July. But, the Penguins are they're just up and down, up and down. They're a roller coaster. They're the NHL's version of King Ducat Six Flags. They're just up and down, and it's a speeding freight train at like 200 miles an hour. So your eyelids are stuck to the back of you like this. You're like, whoa, like I can't freaking see anything. Your eyes are in the back of your damn head. So I can't even believe, that I'm even being asked that question in a way. Like, the Islanders are the only team that have played consistent hockey. I mean, Seattle, I guess, yes. But again, how long until Martin Jones and Philip Grubauer just end up, the bottom just comes out in the playoffs for them? Because you cannot win with goaltenders posting about 3 GAAs with sub 900 save percentages. It's not going to work in the playoffs. It's just not. I'm sorry.
And let me just correct one thing. Philk is partially right. All 3 of us predicted Calgary to make the Stanley Cup Finals. We also, all 3 of us predicted Calgary to win the Stanley Cup.
I think I changed mine and went with the Rangers because I wanted to be a homer. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I think I might have picked the Rangers to win it all.
Yeah, that could have happened, because I am going to buy around on this. I am deathly afraid of a Rangers Islanders playoff series because I'm a bartender. I just don't want to have to break up fights every 5 seconds. So let's never worry about that. But as far as like the actual play of the team, the Islanders got Ilya Sorokin, and they look like they've hit a different gear minus Matt Barzal. Even though they lost a very hapless 2-0 game to the Buffalo Sabres this week, I would still say the Islanders are a damn good team. And I would not want to play them in the first round, even if the Boston Bruins, who I know Their goalie won a playoff series. My goalie hasn't. So I'll keep going back to that, Bruins fans, because that's the chink in the armor. And he's going to win the Vezina this year, Phil. And I'm still saying that's the chink in the armor. So let's move on from there. Phil, the Tampa Bay Lightning, 5-5 in their last 10 games. And they were even below 500 before that. Tampa Bay Lightning do not care until the playoffs begin.
I'm going to buy a round on this, actually. And I was torn between beer and buy a round just because I think that they do want home ice. But I don't think they care that much if they don't get it. I really don't. And the reason is the big cat, number 88 in that net. He is the man that you do not want to see on the other side when you're in the playoffs. That is a guy that can absolutely dominate you at a moment's notice. I think the Rangers, if they come across Tampa again, should shut the hell up and not chant Igor's better at Andrei Vasilevsky, because all that did was serve to piss him off, and that turned that series around when he got pissed. So yeah, that team got motivated by it, and that goaltender especially got motivated by it. So yes, if anything, I will say that Tampa probably doesn't care all that much. I think they would like home ice, but I don't see them being that disappointed if they're number 3 against Toronto, because I still think they're probably going to beat Toronto.
Hey, Phil, I'm breaking out the layup button on this one. Here you go. So we're trying not to overuse this, but it's definitely the layup on this one. Tampa Bay Lightning, they've done it anytime, anywhere. Sorry, Philadelphia Flyers. I'm using your old hashtag right now. But it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. They know exactly what to do in the playoffs. They also know that they're getting the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've seen that movie. I think the Maple Leafs arguably were better last year. Now they got to integrate back Ryan O'Reilly into the lineup. Granted, John Tavares is having a great season, or good season, a matter of fact. And William Nylander's having a very under the radar great season. But there's
Mitch Marr trying to hit 100 points.
Yeah, they're another team I look at and go, Tampa Bay just wants to get things figured out. I would not be surprised if Tampa Bay goes in there and gets their doors blown off in game 1 like they did last year. But they're going to win game 2. That's what Tampa Bay Lightning does.
They will.
That's what they do. So, I mean, not that I'm already positioning them to be playing against the Boston Bruins, because that's a long way to go for a lot of things. Phil, the Ottawa Senators this season, 36, 33-4. Obviously, they just acquired Jacob Chychrun. They're a growing team. Sanderson's going to be more of an impact player, I believe, next year with them. The Ottawa Senators are the most dangerous non-playoff Atlantic Division team in next year.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy one. I'm going to have to bust out the layup on this one.
Here, you could do it. Go ahead.
You could do it, but
all right, I'm right there on it. I got it.
Yeah, because you're right there. But I mean, the makeup of this team just indicates, just going forward, that they're going to be a really good team. Alex DeBrincat has 24 goals and 60 points in 74 games for this Ottawa team. But I mean, and he was the big acquisition in the offseason. Tim Stützle. The Rangers are probably kicking themselves at that one right now. And we're hoping that Alexis Lafreniere stops us from doing that going forward. But Tim Stützle, 36 goals and 82 points in 70 games. That's just ridiculous. Brady Tkachuk, 74 games, 77 points, including 34 goals. Claude Giroux has turned back time a little bit and is just under a point per game. DeBrincat's having a down year, and they still look like they're going to be a really good year really good team going forward. Drake Batherson might score 60 points. Thomas Chabot, he's missed some games, but he could get back to a 50-point defenseman. And for me, I gotta hand it to Franklin Square's Shane Pinto. That's the guy that I would look out for next season. I think is going to have a big breakout year. I think he's going to be somewhere in the 50, 60-point range, Shane Pinto. I think he's that good. Ottawa refused to trade him in the Chychrun deal and a lot of other deals, including the DeBrincat deal as well. They've been high on him for a while. They're waiting for him to become a solid center. I think he's going to be a real good two-way guy for them going forward, Shane Pinto. And I think next year it could be as early as we see it. So, they're a dangerous team, and especially if they're getting Jacob Chikrin, and they didn't give up a ton to get him either. So, I think Ottawa next year is going to be better.
I can't help but believe that I'm losing my marbles in my mouth just trying to think about this. But I can't believe that was the package the Arizona Coyotes held out for. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, Armstrong's really going to have to hear about it for that one, but he's done a great job with almost everything else with the Coyotes right now. Phil, I'm going to go beer because I don't like their net. I don't like their defense. That's what's going to hold them back. Their forward group is real good. Now, the other question is, I mean, Anton Forsberg, is he a goalie, an NHL goalie? I think he answered that this year. He's not on an NHL goalie. I mean, a number one, I should say. Cam Talbot, every year he gets older, but Ranger fans still think it's still 2015 when it comes to Cam Talbot when they talk about him. But the Ottawa Senators are going to have to figure that one out. But if they can add one more quality defenseman in the offseason, they could be pretty good. I look at the Buffalo Sabres. They're going to make an impact. They're going to move on up. They got the best player out of the non-playoff Atlantic teams. Depending on how this ends up, the Florida Panthers could end up doing something. But I still think they got to move Sergei Bobrovsky and free up some cap space because they're going to be a cap hell very soon. And goodness only knows what Steve Yzerman has up his sleeve. So
you never can sleep on Steve Yzerman then.
No,
never.
No, you cannot. And by the way, word is we're going to be getting some reinforcements soon because Anthony says he might be able to get on very shortly.
Okay.
All right. Hey, speaking about Buffalo Sabres players or former Buffalo Sabres players in this case, do you know how many playoff games Jack Eichel's played?
As many as you and I.
I know. I love saying that all the time. But Jack Eichel's never played a playoff game, and Vegas is on the verge of clinching. I don't know if it can happen tonight without them playing, but I do think they're that close. Jack Eichel this year, 27 goals, 32 assists, 59 points. He's not exactly setting the world on fire, but this all is in 61 games, Phil. So, but Jack Eichel is going to be a productive player in the playoffs. I'll start this one. I'm buying around. Look out for him because you're going to tell me he's going to get his first taste of playoff hockey and it's going to be against a team like the Seattle Kraken, potentially, or maybe even the Winnipeg Jets, who are flopping like a fish out of water, trying to get everybody else in there. I think Eichel's going to feast on them. And who knows? Maybe they get Mark Stone back because he'll mysteriously get well. But by the way, that's not in the reports. I'm just saying that because of the LTIR stuff in the last few years. Phil, go to you.
I was torn between beer and round for this because I do think that there's going to be some level of success for Eichel. I do think that, especially the way that you put it, when you're going to be facing an inferior team in the first round, I think Eichel can feast on that. I'm gonna go with beer though, just because I think that he's going to have some struggles. I think he's not used to having played playoff type games in a while. I think he's kind of acclimating himself to that right now, but I think the actual games are a different story. And I think there might be some sort of struggles. While I think he's going to put up points, when I look at the word productive, I think maybe, especially for like productive in context to Jack Eichel, in relation to Jack Eichel, I should say, I think of like a point per game or so. I think he might be just under that, like the way that he's pacing right now. So I'm going to say beer.
And I mean, Vegas, they're looking. They're
looking awful good. Back, though. Oh, man. Ooh.
Yeah, if they get Stone back. I mean, but then again, you don't want to hear about back problems with anybody. Take it from a guy with back problems. You lose your back, your career falls off a cliff. And if you don't believe me, everybody, ask two baseball players, Edgardo Alfonso and Don Mattingly.
I was just going to say Don Mattingly. Yeah.
I'm in your head. That's what I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking Phil, last week we talked about Carter Verhaeghe and how well he's doing in the NHL this season, that he's a budding star. Well, we're going to ask the same question about another player in a moment. Matt Boldy, this season, 28 goals, 29 assists, 57 points. He's a +3. I always throw that in there just to give a little bit of context with that. But Matt Boldy is becoming a star.
Yeah, this is another layup, Mark. Just a layup. He's got 96 career points in 121 career games. He had 39 points in 47 games last year. His pacing is around the same, maybe a little lower this year, just because he's adjusting to a full year's NHL schedule. But he's got 28 goals in 74 games, and it's funny because everybody. I even said. Kevin Fiala, and it's funny, they're talking about him on NHL Network, and I saw this before we started. So I was laughing because I was like, oh, they're talking about Boldy, and Boldy is one of our topics, but Boldy is a real good player. I remember watching him with the World Junior team for the U.S., and that team was filled with stars between Hughes, Boldy, Caulfield, and a bunch of others that were all on that team. But Boldy is just a tremendous player. He's already breaking out. He probably could finish the season with 30 goals and 60 points. And it really helps offset the loss of Kevin Fiala. But 11 goals, 4 assists, and 3 multi-goal games, shooting at over 32% since Kirill Kaprizov's injury. Think about those stats. That's nuts.
Yep.
That's the guy that's picking them up right now. So, yeah. I think the Rangers should offer sheet Boldy. Yeah. We would all love to have someone like Matthew Boldy. Not happening.
Yeah, that's not – I would love it to happen. That's not going to happen, unfortunately.
No.
I don't want to wear out the layup button this week, but the shot button hasn't been getting many. Don't worry, there's still other topics we have, but I'm buying around on this one. This was Anthony's topic that he threw in there, and I would have loved to have had him contribute on this. But man,
hold on. I think we have breaking news, my friend.
Oh, what we got?
Filip Chytil extension.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. Filip Chytil extension. We're looking at 4 years, 4.4375 with the New York Rangers. Wow.
All right. Let me get this all a graphic done. We're gonna actually take a break from bar talk, everybody, to talk about this. We're gonna have Anthony LaRocco joining us in a minute. But this is breaking news.
Wow.
I love the news breaks as we're doing this. So Filip Chytil is extended.
Yeah, that's huge.
So what was it again? 4 years?
4 years, 4.4375 million. I'm going to Twitter right now to go to the Rangers Twitter feed to see if I can.
4.4375. That's an oddly specific number. But,
yeah.
All right. So Phil, first things first, what do you have to say about this extension?
You kept Filip Chytil at under $5 million a year for 4 more years. Just wow. Yeah, and I'm looking at the article right now on the Rangers website. Just, oh my God, 4-year contract extension through the 2026-27 season. Just, I'm gonna find I'm gonna try to see where Friedman. I'm gonna find Elliot Friedman's tweet, because usually he's like got all the numbers and everything like that, just to confirm it. Yes, Elliot Friedman confirming 4 years, 4.4375. Yeah, this is awesome. This is a huge extension for the Rangers. You just locked up your third line center. If they decide that they want to move Vinny Trocheck and somehow make him the second line center, which I don't think that they're going to do, I think that they're pretty content with the depth that they have. Something tells me that Barclay Goodrow is probably gone after this season, and understandable. You just can't have a fourth line center making almost $4 million a year. But this is a big move. The kid has over 20 goals and 40 points already, and he's missed some time. He's paced out at about like a 50-point pace. Yeah, this is a key player to lock up.
Anthony, what are your thoughts on the Filip Chytil extension?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I knew they were definitely going to sign him. I had said that, if you remember, I thought he was going to get $5 million, so he came in under. So good on Drury for that. But a good player. I think it's fair for both sides. I mean, maybe if Chytil takes even a little bit of a next step next season and raises his game, then maybe he could be a little underpaid. But overall, I think the deal is fair for both sides.
Look at this. Look at this. I would like a public apology from, I assume that's me, Phil. I'm just messing with Scott. But, and Anthony, who both said over $5 million per year.
All three of us said
I don't know. I never said 5.5. I pretty much said 5
No.
million,
He said over 5. He didn't say 5.5. He says over 5 there.
Just over 5. That's all it qualifies.
So he's not saying 5.5. But yeah,
I know that. I'm saying I think he's implying that we said he was going to make over 5 million. I said he was going to get 5 million. So, but
I said he could make. It could be about 5. Yeah, I said about 5. I think.
He's saying he's continuing to say we both said over 5. I'm not going to sit here and drag it out. I don't remember that. I pretty much think I thought I said about 5 million, but. It is what it is. It's a good deal for both sides. Like I said, maybe if he raises his game a little bit more, maybe he might even be a little bit underpaid. But I like the deal. He's a good player. I actually, before I jumped on, I went on to Cap Friendly. I checked it out. So going forward, they're going to have 12.3 million available after Chytil's signing. So puts him in good shape to give Miller around 4, Laugh probably around 3. So. If they can move Goodrow, that would help the Rangers out a lot.
And then the cap might go up even more if the players can come to a little agreement with Bettman, as he implied a couple of weeks ago.
And I'm glad Anthony brought all that up, because I think what this does, 2 things. I've said this before when during some trade deadline talks or stuff like that, people are saying, well, we got to worry about Chytil. We got to worry about you paying him. Chytil was the one that had arbitration eligible. Miller does not. Lafreniere does not. So the hammer was in Chytil's court, and this is the contract the Rangers got for him. Damn, Chris Drury might be lining himself up for the GM of the year right now, between some of the moves that he's made. Yeah. Is it the greatest moves? Of course not. I mean, I'm not going to say he's the greatest right now. Let's please win a Stanley Cup, and then I'll say you're the greatest. So Sakic had the same thing, but that's a great move.
I wonder if Miller gets the Noah Dobson contract, the $4 million on a bridge.
I think that's a fair one.
It could be comparable.
But a lot of this cap money is all going off because they had the penalties, because they had to buy out every contract.
I wonder if I think that, I really wonder with Miller. I wonder if the Rangers try to bridge him, because he's been real up and down this season. And I got to agree with this comment here from Core. He's been pricing himself down lately with the defensive play. Like, he's 1 point away from 40, which is great. But his defensive play has just, these last couple of months, really has not been great. And I think the Rangers might want to take a look at this and say, hey, you know what? You're still trying to figure out what type of player you are. And we don't know if we want to give you that type of money if you're still trying to figure out whether you want to play offensively or defensively on defense, because he can't seem to balance them both lately. And that's really what it's going to come down to, is when he can find that balance of being that good puck mover, but also not running out of his position. And
I don't think he's ready to take the reins yet either, Phil. I think he's still a work in progress. We've mentioned how he switched from forward to defense. I think as late as like when he was 17, and because I know in Wisconsin, that's when he was really a newbie to defense. But it's one of those things. He's still learning the position, and it's still going to take some time. And you're going to have ups and downs. Sometimes he looks great. Sometimes he looks like a turnstile. It's just what's going to happen. For one, I'd be confident to bridge him. I'd bridge him about 3 or 4 years. They'd be fine. And then, because Adam Fox winning the Norris is the reason why he didn't get bridged. That you couldn't. Everybody else was getting their money too.
Well, yeah, no, of course. And you had to give the Norris winner that type of money, especially if the season he had. And I mean, he's having another really good year this year. I don't think he's going to win the Norris, just because I think that the media is so wrapped up with the Canadian bias between Morrissey and then points with Karlsson, even though Roman Josi put up 96 points last year, was better defensively than Karlsson could ever be, and still didn't win it. So I don't think Erik Karlsson should win it. Listen, even if Karlsson scores 100, I don't think he should win it. There's precedent. Al McInnes didn't win it in 91 when he scored 100 points. Ray Bourque won it. So, if anything, I do believe Fox should win it. I think they're going to end up giving it to Morrissey, I think.
Well, we're going to go back to the show, but once again, I got to say that this is a great deal and a great day for the New York Rangers. You're locking up Filip Chytil fairly cheap. I don't think they're going to have to break the bank on Miller and Lafreniere, because there's just not as much to the resume. So I don't think, and they can't, and they don't have negotiating power. You're not going to get somebody to go offer sheet Keandre Miller $8 million. And I don't even know if they have those rights to begin with. I don't even think they do right now.
I think you would have to be arbitration eligible for that. And I don't think Miller is, and I don't think Lafreniere is either. I mean, Lafreniere has a career high 36 points this year, but that's only 5 from his career high last year, and he has 4 less goals this year than he did last year.
It would also behoove both of them to sign the contract after the postseason and hopefully turn in a good postseason. Filip Chytil now, he doesn't have to worry about the contract. He might go out and flourish even more so in this postseason. So we're going to move back. We're going to go back to Bar Talk, pivot again. Don't worry, there'll be a lot more discussion about this. But while we're at it, everybody, for anybody listening on audio, we're going to welcome in Mr. Anthony LaRocco officially.
Yeah, sorry I had to hop on a little bit late, but a lot going on. Playoff chases galore. Some cases really just down to seeding, but we're down the stretch, fellas. It's going to be good, some great hockey to the rest of the way to the playoffs.
Well, I'm glad that you're on, because you got a great story to tell after we're done with Bar Talk. But let's continue that along. So, by the way, Anthony, what do you think? Matt Boldy, is he becoming a star right now?
Yeah, I think so. He's been filling the net lately. His last couple of games, he's really snubbing Kirill Kaprizov's absence. But even before he got hurt, Boldy's been one of Minnesota's best players. Even last year when he broke in, you kind of saw that the skill that he had. I think this is a guy that. What is he around, like 60 points right now or so? I think he could be a player that, even transcends that, 70, we'll see as it goes down the line. But I really like him. He's got a lot of size. He's got a good shot. He's got great hands. I think, if Marco Rossi could come up and finally develop too, that will be huge for Minnesota going forward. But I really like Matt Boldy. This is a round for me.
It's going to be amazing when Minnesota, hopefully when they are ready to get out from under those cap penalties, like they might have like some serious like cap leverage to use, and they might go after like a lot of big name free agents. Then let's go from one of the better teams in the NHL to one of the worst teams in the NHL Tied for second worst in the NHL, guys. David Quinn and the San Jose Sharks. Second worst in the NHL, 55 points. They're 1 point above Columbus. Philk, San Jose's problems are fixed if they win the Connor Bedard lottery.
Beer. They have a lot of other things that they need to address. They didn't get enough in the Timo Meier trade. I'm just going to come right out and say it. I mean, when Fabian Zetterlund is like basically the him and Shakir Mukmadulin are the core of the return of the Timo Meier trade, didn't get enough. Should have gotten one of Alexander Holtz. I know you weren't going to get Luke Hughes. New Jersey wasn't going to deal him, understandably so. But to not get Holtz, they wanted Mercer, and they weren't going to get Mercer. It was kind of like when Ranger fans thought that they were going to get Braden Point and Mikhail Sergachev for Ryan McDonough. It just wasn't going to happen. But San Jose really just not moving off Mercer for as long as they did really hindered that package. And, I mean, they have some good prospects. They have William Eklund, but where they need some more depth, I think, in their farm system. And I think they could use a little more top-end prospects as well. So I don't think that it just automatically solves everything. It helps, absolutely, but automatically solve their problems are fixed. No, I'm going to go shot here. I'm going to go shot. So, no.
Anthony, what do you think?
I could go either way, shot or beer. I mean, I know they still need a viable option in goal. Their defense is but I mean, they do have Bordelot and William Eklund, who are going to be mainstays soon. They're good young players. They both have 41 points in the AHL. I believe it was the first year for both of them, aside from maybe a cup of tea Bordelot got last year at the end of the year. But they both look to be good players. Then you have Tomas Hertl, who's still a good player. Couture's a little older, but he's still playing well. But then the thing is, Connor Bedard has the potential to be McDavid-like. And anytime you get that type of talent, it really helps you, despite there really no really good horizons in net for them. But I mean, he really would help the team going forward. But like I said, I do have some reservations with some of their overall depth. But I'll go with a beer just because of Bedard's ceiling.
Their goaltending is a mess. Their defense is a mess. Pete brought up a great one right here. I have to share with you guys. So it's right here. $15 million combined to Vlasic and Couture to 25, 26. Like, you kind of want that to be there. It's just, they're not fixed. Connor Bedard is a great step forward. Think about Tampa Bay in circa 2008 and then 2009. Stamkos didn't fix everything. It took Stamkos and Hedman and then their veterans to get everything all to get their ducks in a row. And then they made a run at the 2011 conference championships. It's going to take much more than just Connor Bedard. And that's one reason why I actually think the Arizona Coyotes playing well is a good thing, because you can't just think, I hope we're going to suck. Hope we get Bedard. Bedard is going to be a beast, guys. He's not going to erase everything. And also think about Jack Eichel. He's about to play his first playoff game. It's been 9 years, 7 years. Feels like it's 9, especially after all the trade deadline talk last year. Anthony, we talked about the playoff races, and we're going to talk about them a little bit more right now. But we had the Calgary Flames. All three of us picked the Calgary Flames to win the Stanley Cup this year at the beginning. But they're right now 2 points back of wild card number 2, 5 points back of Seattle for wild card number 1. I'm throwing it on you. The Calgary Flames are making the playoffs.
I'm going to go beer just because the Winnipeg Jets are essentially keeping the Flames in the race. At this point, I still like the Jets better just because Hellebuck really is a lot better than Markstrom. But both teams are playing. They really don't want it. I mean, Winnipeg got shut out last night by San Jose. I mean, when you're trying to fend off a team for a playoff spot. That absolutely cannot happen. So I don't know. They're both kind of right now, but I think the Jets have better goaltending. But overall, it's close. But I'm going to stick with the Jets, and I'm going to say they'll make it, and the Flames won't. Beer.
Phil.
Screw it. I'm going to go bold. Round. This Winnipeg team is just playing like such trash right now. And I literally just said before that they're doing everything that they possibly can to basically miss the playoffs. Josh Morrissey was over a point per game, was like well over a point per game at one point, just a few weeks back, I would say. He's now under a point per game, 4 points under. He's a -4 now. Marc Chytil is a -19. And although he has 38 points, his 61 points are the lowest I think he's had in quite some time over a full season. Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to finish with probably about 60, 65 points. Blake Wheeler looks like age is finally catching up to him, only 50 points. And then after that, there's an 18-point drop from Wheeler's 50 to Adam Lowry's 32. Cole Perfetti not being in the lineup does not help them at all. They just have not gotten the contributions that they needed from other players. Connor Hellebuck is having a good year, respectable year, 260 goals against, 917 save percentage, but I do not trust this team. I really don't. And I think Calgary, if they want to save Daryl Sutter's job, if they want to make the playoffs, I think this is where they step up and they make it. So, but this stat from Pete is not a good one. They have not won a game this season when trailing in the third period. And that's on two things. That's on coaching and that's on leadership.
This question has got a whole lot of logic that is very hard to come up with, guys, because the games are even. They're 2 points behind each other, apart. The Flames play the Jets on April 5th. So next Wednesday, a week from Wednesday, they play in Winnipeg. The Flames have 4 games at home, 3 games on the road. And if you go to Tankathon right now, the Winnipeg Jets have the 15th most difficult strength of schedule remaining, with their toughest games being against the Devils, the Avalanche, and the Wild. The Calgary Flames have the easiest schedule, according to Tankathon. They have 1 against Chicago, 1 against San Jose, 1 against Anaheim, 2 against Vancouver, 1 against Nashville, and 1 against the Winnipeg Jets.
Throw Vancouver out the window. They are playing great hockey right now.
8-2 in their last 10. They're playing great. And they don't even have Thatcher Demko back, I think, right?
Possibly. I'm not sure about that, but Rick
I have to look at that
team around. If Rick Tocchet had a full year with this team, Rick Tocchet would probably be up for Jack Adams.
But Phil, here's the other thing. Calgary has 15 overtime losses.
Oh.
And if I remember correctly, somebody please put it in the comments below if I'm wrong. They have a losing record against non-playoff teams. This is the kiss of death for me to say this. But I'm buying everybody around. The Calgary Flames are making the playoffs. And if Markstrom can remember last year, or if Daryl Sutter just says, fuck it, play Dan Vladar, whose numbers have been much better. I don't care about Jacob Markstrom's feelings. You're getting paid. This kid's going to play now. And if you want your job, come back in and get it. Ranger fans, if you remember 1995, Mike Richter wasn't playing well. They gave the net to Glenn Healy. Glenn Healy struggled after winning a couple games, and then Mike Richter took it back and never let go of that net until his knees gave out. So it's just that's what has to happen. If you got to take the net away, he's got to take it on back. So it's just like that. But Calgary, I don't know, because Calgary can't win against crappy teams.
Yeah, and this is another good point for Pete here. Sutter has to figure out how to use Jonathan Huberdeau. And I think that's the biggest problem with this team. I think the key acquisition that they brought in Jonathan Huberdeau in that trade with Matthew Tkachuk has clashed constantly from day one with Daryl Sutter. And I think that's why Sutter probably gets fired in the offseason, regardless of whether they make the playoffs or not, because they are not going to bring this guy in and then trade their best young player, they're honestly their best player, for him and have the coach stifle him completely. It's just poor asset management to do it. I think Sutter's gone either way, but I think Sutter wants everything that he can get from this team in these last 8 games or whatever they have left.
God help the Western Conference if Calgary figures it out in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's how much faith we had in them. And you looked at that team, Elias Lindholm, Nazem Kadri. Those right there, those are 2 pesky centers. I don't want against my top 2 lines. And then you got guys like Mangiapane, and Huberdeau's a 100-point player. This guy didn't forget how to play hockey. Something's wrong.
It's the coach.
It's the coach. It has to be the coach because he's not injured. But true to form, you don't hear Huberdeau fucking throwing him under the bus.
No.
So, all right. And Philk, 8 points separates 5 teams in the Western Conference. Sorry, the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, 6 points separate 4 teams. This year is proof that the NHL needs a play-in game or a play-in series.
Shot. I don't want anything to do with that. Go away. It sucks in basketball. Baseball's doing something like that. Stay away, please. I'm ending it right there.
Anthony, what do you think?
I could see why you're posing that question, because the Jets are only like 2 points ahead of Calgary, and if it comes out to a 1-point difference, you can make the case. Well, it's 1 point, but I don't know. I used to be for it, but I'm gonna go shot. I like it the way it is. However, there is something to be said for more revenue and more excitement for those 2 teams that are playing a play-in to see who gets that last spot. But Bettman has been steadfast against it, so I don't see it changing.
Thank God Gary Bettman is steadfast against it. This is so many shots. I'm buying the entire bottle, and I'm getting it from Drizly since I'm going to keep on trying to hawk for an affiliate marketer. But but Anthony, no, absolutely not. The NHL has got a good thing going. I understand we could talk about the format and whether or not you think the divisional format, that's really what this is the best way to do this. I mean, after all, you wanted to get more divisional rivalries. We still haven't gotten a Ranger Islander playoff series since 1994 in this right. format, but we've gotten the Rangers Capitals a million times. However, Anthony, I got to say it like this. No, absolutely not. No. Keep it the way it is. You definitely, because here's the problem. Once you do, 8 versus 9 in 1-game playoff at number 8's rank.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it becomes, a 1-game playoff is unfair. They should get a 2-game series. Okay, wait, why? And that's what happened with baseball. It's a 1-game playoff. And again, I said with baseball, if you didn't like it, then win your games. Same thing with this. You got 82 games to figure it out. So no, absolutely not. And I swear, if they ever do it, I'll have to drive out to the city and give Gary Bettman a slap. Fortunately, the best part about it is if I drive up, go to Gary Bettman when he's eating lunch and slap him, he'll probably look at me and go, well, I had that coming. I don't know why. What are you for? I mean, there's a lot of – Gary Bettman is the only sports commissioner that they had a movie made about him. If you haven't seen it, Good Cop, Bone Cop. It was a good one. And he really is the butt of the joke in that one. So that actually is going to do it for us. We're very passionate about that. Once again, everybody, make sure you check out Drizly whenever you don't feel like going to the liquor store, or you're that much of a drunk, you don't feel like going to the liquor store, you have to have somebody deliver it to you. Well, also don't forget beer and other things. Sometimes you just don't have time. Use Drizly. Anyway, Anthony, one reason why I'm definitely glad that you're back right now, well, I mean, other than it's great to see you, is that we were talking about, just want to get your thoughts about two things. One, the All Things Islanders post that John put up this week on there, the Islanders record with Pelech and Palmieri. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, with Pelech, it's no surprise. Aside from, Sorokin, you can make the case that he's the most important player to the Islanders lineup. I mean, he's their best defensive defenseman. He plays against other teams' top players night in and night out, logs a lot of minutes. He's just so steady back there. In that athletic poll I sent you guys the other day, underrated defenseman, he wasn't in the article, as they even said at the start of it. Like guys like Pelech have been said to have been underrated for so long now that they're not underrated anymore. But in some of those charts and metrics, you saw he was pretty much on every one. He's just he's one of the best shutdown defensemen in the league. Put him right up there with Slavin, and when he's out, the Islanders really miss him. So that's not surprising. Palmieri, he goes through spurts where he's been pedestrian. So it's funny to see that, how good he has been since he's come back. More specifically, he's got 10 points in the last 6 games. But, the fact is the Islanders don't have like that many secondary pieces, which Palmieri is. So when Palmieri was out, it really is just up to the top guys like Nelson and, Barzal, Horvat. Palmieri's the one guy that provides that, and they were missing it. Now, he's come back and, he's providing that for them. So great to see. I don't know if you saw he scored 2 goals the other night, but I don't know if you saw the one where like his backhand, it was like filthy.
I would just say that before, and I don't think Marc heard me say it, but that backhand goal was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I watched that last night, or it's not last night. Sorry, Monday night. It was phenomenal. That game we didn't break down that game against the Devils enough.
That was beautiful. And then his second goal, he just fired a wrister that has absolutely smoked Vanacek. So, if he could continue playing like this, similar to the way he did against Boston in the second round a few years ago, that's a much-needed addition to the Islanders lineup.
He's on pace for 53 points right now. And you think about that. Yep. 53 points. He's got 31 points in 48 games. And I know you said 10 in his last 6, which is a big part of why that number looks as good as it looks. But on pace for about 53 points this season. So if you have this Kyle Palmieri playing all year, maybe he's looking at chasing some career highs.
Now, Anthony, we were mentioning this in the A block, and it's funny because we're actually going backwards to the A block. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
What's going on, Chris?
I do have to ask this question about this, and that's the Islanders really had kind of a rough week. They came back from the 2-goal deficit against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then they lose that game against Buffalo. The less said about that game, the better, because nobody likes that game. But then they come out, they play that game against the Devils. Would you say that's probably the most important game for the Devils all year? For the Islanders all year? Because on top of that, then they get help that night and the next night with Pittsburgh and Florida losing.
Listen, it's a tale as old as time, right? With a team that's looking like they're bound for the playoffs to lose to a non-playoff team. It's a spoiler role. Unfortunately, it happens. And in Columbus, the Islanders did not have it. They simply did not have it. I'm glad they got a point though, because being down 4-2, it looked like they weren't going to get anything. So that point was crucial. And then, the game against Buffalo, they laid an egg, but they came out against New Jersey, and they imposed their will on them. Sorokin was great in goal. And, they kind of took that game over in the third period. But it was an important 2 points, like you referenced. They got help. And now it's at the point where they're 6 points ahead of the Panthers. As I said in your text when you said that you think like 93 points would get it in, I even said 92 because the Islanders go 3-3-1 these last 7 games. Florida would have to go 7-1 to pass them. So
not happening.
And And also, the Panthers play the Maple Leafs tonight.
I
For whatever
don't think
reason,
they're
he's not
winning
even
that
the
game.
backup. He's not even the backup. Alex Lyons is the starter, and they called up a goalie from the AHL. And Islanders win tonight.
Alex Lyons started tonight's game.
And
They're
Islanders
going to get trounced. Oh, my God.
Hope so. But an Islanders
They're
win
going to
tonight,
get
the
trounced,
Panthers
I'm
loss
telling you.
pretty much seals the deal. But just hold on, my daughter's calling me. But you could talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay.
Right.
What's your name? Linda Richmond over there.
And when Anthony comes back, he's going to tell you a very inspiring story.
Yeah, and then nobody. All right, so nobody here thinks that the Islanders are going to miss the playoffs. What we're all hoping, and I think everybody outside of Pittsburgh hopes this, is that the Pittsburgh Penguins miss the playoffs. Nobody thinks the Islanders are losing a spot.
No,
The Islanders are not losing it. They control their own destiny right now. If the only reason they would miss it is because they just decided to just not start not showing up and doing their thing. So,
oh rats! Hold on.
What?
All right, I lost my guys. There it is again. Because also, Anthony, I got to ask you this question because you have the story to tell about Hudson Fasching.
Muted.
Anthony, you muted.
Unmute.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thanks for letting me know. Story came out a couple of days ago. They did a piece on him, about his journey to finally stick in the NHL. And, he revealed that all of his siblings are in a wheelchair, they're unable to, walk or talk. And, he made a joke that, he used all the good genes and, he felt so much pressure to make it and, do something. Just talked about the battle it was growing up like that, having his siblings in the way they are. He talked about some, dark nights when he was in Rochester and with Buffalo and, kind of not making it. So, when he finally got a chance to stick here, he's really, he really has played well to the point where, when Barzell, the last regular comes back, he's not coming out of the lineup. It would be Simon Holmstrom or someone like that. But Fasching actually reminds me of a younger Cal Clutterbuck with more size. He skates really hard. He goes to the net. He hits. He's been a really good energy type player for him. And he's even chipping in offensively here or there, which is, big this time of year. I think the Islanders should definitely re-sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal. Give him a one-way this time. He's earned it. And it's really inspiring to see a guy like him come out and, have success and stick. He's worked really hard for it, and given his background, I'm really happy for him.
7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points for a 4th-round draft pick from for the LA Kings from 2013.
Waiver claim.
A what?
He was a waiver claim.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact that he was drafted 2013, Phil.
No, I know, but I'm just saying the Islanders got him from waivers, correct, Anthony?
No, they signed him.
Signed a 1-year deal.
They signed him in the summer. Just as
they signed
nothing kind of signing.
You know what? I thought he was a waiver claim for some weird reason.
Yeah.
The Islanders got 2 good bargains between Fasching and what looked like Witherspoon was going to have, but haven't seen much of him in the last couple months.
He's been, once they got healthy, he's been a healthy scratch. But it's Fasching was it was kind of like, when they first called him up, it was like, who's this guy? And you saw him play. He definitely brings it, and he shows some flashes of skill. And I think, for a guy like him, who's really grateful to be where he is, when you work really hard, good things are going to happen. And, he's certainly doing that.
And you said he's got multiple siblings that have issues?
He's got 2 younger siblings that are both in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Man, that's a lot to play for. And that's a lot to inspire you. every single night.
Especially when you're on a two-way deal and he's making, peanuts in the AHL for so long, it could become, difficult. So, now that he's up right now, playing on a higher AAV, but that's why hopefully next year he can get a one-way deal and continue to play well. But I really like him going forward on the third or fourth line.
Well, especially as a fourth liner. And after all, he's got a game-winning goal this year. It was a little controversial, but he's got a game-winning goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, you want to go and you want to make that money. And, for someone who has dealt with what he dealt with, it kind of reminds me of Michael Dal Colle in a way, and how Dal Colle had his younger brother who he was taking care of and had all those ailments. And, I mean, I guess you could ramp that story up to about an 11 with Fashing, but I mean, it's, these guys, they're people too. They have their own real life issues. They have things that they have to deal with, obstacles that they have to overcome, hurdles that constantly get in their way. And Hudson Fashing is no different. And, it gives you more of a real life aspect as to some of the things that these guys go through. And you know what? This guy over here is just working his ass off for a new deal. So, and I think he'll get it. I think he will get it. So, I think the Islanders would be smart to do so, because right now, you ask me who I'd rather have on a fourth line in a bigger game. I'd rather have Hudson Fashing than either Matt Martin or Cal Clutterbuck.
Yeah, they're still able to pull out a goal every now and again, but I'd agree with you on that.
No, I just think Hudson Fashing is just a far better player than those two as of right now, especially Matt Martin, who, to me, I mean, he's still physical, but it looks like he's lost a little bit of his edge as he's getting older. And I just don't think he can skate with today's game anymore. I just think that part has kind of just passed him by. And Cal Clutterbuck, I feel like he's going to be like from the spoof movie where they're talking about Rocky and the old boxer just turns into dust. That's what I think that Cal Clutterbuck's body is going to happen, because he's just taken so many hits. He's had so many injuries over such a long career that I don't know how much more his body can actually take.
Anthony?
Yeah, for a while there, I thought he was going to be, because he was out for a while and he just, he came back a week and a half ago, but it was looking like, I was wondering, he might not come back and find himself in LTIR next year and, ride out the last year of his contract and that's it. But, he came back and he's playing. So I don't know if that will happen anymore, but who knows?
And you were saying the Islanders probably only need about 3 wins, maybe
Florida off 1-0.
Florida's up 1-0. All right.
Yeah, they just scored.
Well, we saw them go up 2-0 on the Rangers. We know how that ended up.
Yeah.
Anthony, so I'm going to put you on the spot. How long does it take for the Islanders to clinch a playoff spot? Are they on the verge? Can this be done by next week?
Yeah, I would say in the next 7-8 days. Yeah, I could see it happening. Florida keeps playing the way they are. Islanders just keep picking up points here or there. It's going to happen.
And especially the way Pittsburgh is playing.
Yeah, I think between Pittsburgh and Florida, I definitely think that's possible. I think the Islanders are in a real good position right now. Not necessarily cruise control, because I think if you're the Islanders, I don't think you want to play cruise control. Maybe you might rest your guys for the last couple of games of the season, but I think you want to keep your team fresh going into the playoffs. You want to keep them playing important hockey, but they're in a real good position right now.
Well, they play tonight versus the Washington Capitals. They're in action right now, by the way, and then they go the next time they get back to UBS, it's April 6th. I cut somebody off. Sorry.
Pittsburgh is a they're a joke right now. Pittsburgh. They lost 7-4 to Detroit last night. They can't keep the puck out of the net, and Ron Hextall is looking like a horse's ass right now for not doing something about his goaltending. That team, they're not
What? All right, so I'm going to cut you off there. What could he have done about his goaltending?
I mean, that's a fair question. I mean, you got to at least, right? I mean, I know it's easier said than done sometimes, but when you can clearly see that your team's weakness is goaltending, I mean, try to do something to make some sort of effort.
Who says that he didn't try, though? That because to me, the only thing that I can see that really would have helped them would have been John Gibson. And did Anaheim want to move him? Were there discussions? What was the price? I mean, there's a lot of questions to ask. And listen, I'm not trying to defend Pittsburgh, but it just the options that seemed available didn't seem like significant upgrades over Jarry.
Yeah, I also think that you could also, and as well as you guys are right about that, both of you, because there were other low cost options. James Reimer could have been an option. I mean, Tristan Jarry is one of the UFAs, I believe, or free agents that's coming up. I had a list of them. I'm sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head, but there's significant things that needed to be done. I just think you needed to identify Tristan Jarry wasn't the guy to begin with. And it sounds mean to say because, hey, Mark, you made the All-Star team last year. Yeah, but every single season ends poorly for this guy. And he makes bad decisions. I know I'm talking about two specific plays, but against the Rangers in that mid-March game, he made a pass up the middle of the ice, reminiscent of the one that cost him the playoff series against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Cannot have that. No. And that's the type of goalie that he is. If you're gonna have a goalie like that, you might as well just pack up and run. You better stop every puck that comes his way, because that's the answer on that one. By the way, everybody that participated in the poll, we have it was how will the New York Rangers finish the regular season? 12% said Metro Division champs. 54% said second place with home ice, and third place said still playing well in third place, and then 10% said third place stumbling into the playoffs. Phil, how do you think the Rangers are going to end their season?
I'm going to say second place home ice. I just think that they're playing real good hockey right now, and I think that you're going to see Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko are going to up their games. I think that's going to help guys like Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad. Artemi Panarin's playing better lately. Mika Zibanejad is just Mika Zibanejad in March. It's Mika March. We've just come to the realization of it. That's what it is. State of Survival asking, how many upsets are we going to see this playoffs? It's a good question. I think the Islanders can upset Carolina. I really do. I don't trust Carolina's goaltending. I don't.
I agree with you on that. Carolina, I don't like the Islanders for a matchup for anybody. Even the Boston Bruins. You're talking about a goalie that's won a playoff series versus the goalie that hasn't won a playoff series. Okay, so there's them. Calgary Flames, if they get hot, maybe they could do something. I don't see Seattle or Winnipeg really making a push. Now, do you count 2 versus 3 as an upset in this case?
Well, yeah, technically that would be an upset. So, I mean, Tampa Bay. But here's the thing: Tampa Bay and Toronto. Tampa Bay might not be considered the underdog in that series, though. So I don't know if I necessarily consider that an upset.
Is it weird if you ever say that there is no underdog in that series?
I don't know.
Tampa Bay would be the favorite, but Toronto would act like the favorite.
I don't know if Toronto would want to act like they're the favorite. I think Toronto would rather be considered the underdog. I think they would rather use that to their advantage. Because that market always has pressure on it to win.
Yeah, hopefully that's a message that Sheldon Keefe could deliver. Brody Bro is saying, hell yeah, Philk. Still no score so far. Islanders versus Washington Capitals. We're going to stick around for a few more minutes.
Yeah.
It's just I think that there's the real question is out of this, never mind how many upsets, what is going to be the biggest upset in the playoffs, do you think right now, gut reaction?
I might have to take a look at the standings and see what the
and even that you might have to project forward. I mean, right now we're doing
really. I want to answer this question when we actually get the matchups because I don't. We're still these matchups are still yet to be determined, so I don't really think we can answer that question as of right now.
And Brody Bro is saying, I want to see me some Islanders Bruins first round and watch the Roken frustrate the Bees.
I mean, if the Islanders could upset the Bruins, that would be a big one. But hey, you know what? The Islanders upset a 58-team Pittsburgh 58 game winning Pittsburgh Penguins team in 1993 that had 4 100-point scorers and 6 players that finished with 80 or more points, which is actually the NHL record. So
that's still ridiculous. That might be one of the greatest teams I've ever seen not to win the Stanley Cup.
I would say either them or I would say maybe the 96 Red Wings would probably be the greatest team to never win the cup just because of how stacked they were and what they were doing to teams on a nightly basis. Nobody had answers for the Russian Five. Nobody had answers.
Nobody.
Just nobody. And, I mean, they literally chased Patrick Waugh out of town to Colorado in December because Jacques Demers wouldn't
pull him.
Yeah, he wouldn't pull him. And it was just that was just crazy to think about. I remember when that trade happened, I was like, what?
I can't help but think about two things now that you mentioned that, Phil, because I always want to continue our what if series because I love those videos. But what if the Red Wings don't light them up? And what if the Nordiques never moved to Colorado? That trade does not happen with him in Colorado. And if they lose, with the Nordiques still in Quebec, and if they lose 4-1, he doesn't go. Maybe the Red Wings do win the Stanley Cup that year.
Yeah, they probably do. I mean, the Nordiques the Colorado Avalanche made a big deal at the very beginning of the season, probably about 8 games in, to trade Owen Nolan to San Jose for Sandy Zozelinch, which was big because they needed a puck mover from the back end, being that Steve Duchesne was no longer there. He was their last real good puck-moving defenseman. But Nolan for Zozelinch was a trade that doesn't really get the love that it should because it gave them and not only that, but it helped out their power play big time too. Because you put on that power play, you had Sakic, Forsberg, Zozelinch, Kamensky, Young, Lemieux, all these different guys that could score goals on their power play. And that was big for them. But yeah, Patrick Waugh and Mike Keane, Mike Keane doesn't get enough love. I know Ranger fans, they hated Mike Keane because they
got Mike Keane and Brian Scrutton at the wrong time.
At the wrong time, and Mike Keane helped end Pat LaFontaine's career, which sucked because LaFontaine was actually having a really good year with the Rangers as the number 2 center behind Gretzky. But no, Keane was a good player and definitely helped bring depth and leadership to that team and experience. So
Pops, yes, we did. We talked about the Chytil contract. I mentioned it to Sal. I want to say it was around the 1 hour mark. Look for the Matt Boldy conversation when you just slide back. And by the way, the Nordiques were not winning that Stanley Cup with Stefan Fiset or Jocelyn Thibault for that matter, as we found. Yeah. Thibault completely exposed when he got to Montreal. Even after he had one good season in Montreal, and then that was it. And they were already working on
the Rangers killed him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Rangers lost the first 2 games of that series and absolutely stormed back and made Thibault look like he didn't even belong.
Right. And they shut down Vincent Damphus in that series. Pierre Turgeon ended up having a pretty decent series out of that, but The guy that was the nightmare in that series. We all remember Danfus because those first 2 games were big. The guy that was the consistent presence was Saku Koivu. He was everywhere.
Saku Koivu was a pain in the Rangers' ass in that series, and yes, he was.
But this is where Brody Bro is right about this, Phil. You got to love the NHL playoffs because it's so unpredictable. Anything can happen. You get to you play tight, and then you get to a overtime. Lucky bounce goes in. That's everything.
Triple overtime, Game 3, Rangers Capitals 2012, Marian Gaborik, ending it at 12:15 in the morning. I'll never forget. I was at a friend of mine's house. He was my best friend at the time. Anthony actually knows him. And we were watching that game, and we woke up his father, who had to go into work at 3 a.m. in the morning, and he was not happy about that. So, yeah, but triple overtime. And then I remember the triple overtime games during Anaheim's run in 2003 with Jaguar, and the games against Dallas and Detroit, and the 5 OT games, and even like the 5 OT game between Tampa Bay and Columbus a few years back. Like that game was incredible, man. Incredible. It's games like that you just love to watch. But I mean, Battle of Florida last year, that was something.
That's fantastic that we finally got the Battle of Florida. And did they get it 2 years in a row? Yeah, it was 2 years in a row because they had
2 years in a row.
The shortened season. The
shortened season had the better series.
Oh, much better.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that series was so much better.
That series was one of the most fun series I've watched in hockey in a long time because I got to just sit back and watch 2 teams absolutely kick the crap out of each other.
And I can't believe Game 4 went the way it did, where Florida was throwing everything at them, and Tampa ends up rolling them. I think it was 5-1.
Yeah.
So it was in on that. David Wood, by the way, also said LA over the Oilers. I'll maintain the same thing I said about the Toronto series. Is that an upset? LA is the 2nd seed. People are forgetting that. The Oilers, they got the best player in the game, if not the top 2 players in the game. So
I think I think the Oilers take that series. I just think I think Connor McDavid continues to score at about a 2-point per game pace, and he just powers them over. I don't know if LA is going to have an answer for him.
I mean, there's been so much that I'm looking forward to in this playoff season, and we still got 3 weeks to go. Like, there's still so many things to talk about. It's going to be unbelievable, but that's what this is all about, everybody. I'm going to start playing the music to cue us out, and because this was a jam-packed show. It's great that we had the breaking news about Filip Chytil. Filip Chytil, long-term as a New York Ranger. Can you see Filip Chytil taking that second line center spot?
What's that?
Can you see Filip Chytil taking that second line center spot?
I mean, that would be ideal because that way you can move Vincent Trocheck and then you go get a lesser expensive third line center, and then you have Filip Chytil as your number 2 making less than $5 million. But I mean, as of right now, that's not probably something the Rangers are looking at. They're probably looking to take this depth and win a Stanley Cup with it. So,
yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting what happens in the offseason if Tarasenko or Kane, either one of them, try to take a pay cut to stay one more year. And it's also going to be interesting to see what the roles are going to be for some players next year, because Brendan Ottman's coming, and he's going to be a cheap ad for them. That's going to be a good thing. Will Cooley, what's his future right there? So that's why I'm not 100% in on that Barclay Goodrow's gone, or some other players are gone, maybe like Ryan Lindgren, maybe he stays. Because if they can fit those cap numbers, let's say $11 million, I think for Lafreniere and Miller, I think the Rangers end up able to get a decent chunk of money to pay one of those guys. There's still going to be some questions about what their payouts are, because
do they pull Correa and Solani in 2003? That's really the question.
And if they get even closer to the Stanley Cup, let's say they lose the Stanley Cup Finals, that could change everything too. Maybe one of the guys wants to stay. Phil, one last question before we sign off is that one. Could Kakko be under the radar guy to get moved this season?
I just think that would be bad asset management to move him, especially when he just put up a career high in points. I don't see it. I think that would not be smart.
I gotta say this. A lot of fans rip Kakko. But you talk about a guy that's a second overall pick. He's been moved around the lineup all over the place. Up, down, left, right. He's been moved around like the Contra code, Phil. And it's just like, you know, that takes a lot on you mentally because you don't know what's expected of you.
You know what's funny? He's 4 points away from 40. And he can do it. And if he does that, and you look at that and you say, hey, this guy just scored 40 points this year, you know, in his first like full year. And, you know, he's on a line that he has chemistry with and consistency with. So that's going to make the Rangers think about, you know, really moving in. Unless they get something that they really feel that can help them going forward, like a similar, like an asset that's got a similar age and a similar ceiling that maybe needs to change the scenery. I don't even know if they would do that because I don't think they're like dissatisfied with Kakko. I just think he needs to work on his skating and shooting. I think he's going to be really good.
I think the Rangers are pretty satisfied with him, Lafreniere, and Chytil because they're not asking anything of them. As fans, we want to see that. Of course, that's going to be the case, but I definitely don't think they're doing it. And John is saying it right here. Kakko's a great two-way player too. He just needs to add some more weight and keep his confidence.
I don't know if he needs to add more weight. I think he's got enough muscle as it is right now. I think he needs to add speed. I think if he added lean muscle, then okay. But, I mean, he needs to really work on his speed and his shooting.
And by the way, Brody's saying it right there. KK is hard on the puck. Hard to get away from him. And look, Kakko hasn't said anything. He's doing his yeoman's work. They took him off the PP2. Didn't because Patrick Kane came on the team, and he didn't mind. Alexei Lafreniere went to be the guy in front of the net. This is I don't have any bad things to say about Kakko, and his contract more than affordable to keep him on this team. You don't have to worry about that. And look, if that's the case, oh, here we go. Kakko.
The Rangers easily say no to that right now.
Rangers say no.
Tell you right now, the Rangers easily say no to that, Anthony. I know that Anthony fired.
Oh yeah, well, I love when Anthony does these. I can't wait for free agency who says no. What we're going to come up with. That's going to be even better.
Byfield has 21 points in 45 games this season. He's been back and forth between the minors. The Rangers easily say no to this.
Yeah. They also, now that they signed Chytil and they got Trocheck, it's the center depth.
There's no need for Byfield. You get maybe a winger of around the same age that's posted similar numbers to Kakko. Maybe they think about it, but definitely. And not only that, but the Rangers can't afford to move right wings right now, especially with the uncertainty with Tarasenko and Kane. You can't do that. Yeah,
no, you can't do that. I mean, again, Ottman's coming. I keep saying this over and over again. Brent Ottman's going to be here next year. So, and while we're at it, I'll say Will Cooley's here too. But that would probably mean Barclay Goodrow's gone, is what you're saying, Phil. So, and if that's the case, wow, I can't believe they got rid of that. All right, guys. That will conclude our day. 2 hours and 3 minutes. You guys have been troopers watching us the entire way through. 21 of you right now. It was 45 of you for the most part the entire time. Of course, we're going to have a lot more. We're going to have post-game coverage all the time, especially when it comes to the playoffs. Once the Islanders conclude, I'm going to have to do a show every day. Oh, kill me. All right. But guys, thank you very much. Don't forget to check out SeatGeek and get $20 off your first order. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey. Phil used it for wrestling. Come on, you got to use it for there. And I know there's been a couple more other usages for it. So that's a great thing to have. John, thank you very much. We aim to please. That is what we do. So everybody, thank you very much. And we will see you Maybe not next Wednesday. We might have to reschedule, but soon enough.
Let's go Rangers.